June 2026, and we're coming together to talk about and sit with chronic stress. What is it? What can we do about it? And we've just done a round of introductions here, and I want to respond to a little bit, one of which is it's not so easy to remember in the push of the list of things we need to get through or the expectations to come back down into our more dense bodies that really offer us the possibility of slowing down when awareness can come down. And we did a little, for those of you that aren't here live, we did a little kind of grounding through the senses, landing together. And we don't remember. We as humans entrain to our environment. We're not the only species that does this, right? So if things are going fast, we speed up. Our internal pace will speed up. And often when things slow down, or we're in the presence of someone who is very settled, we can feel our nervous system kind of go, oh, yeah, or a baby, right? Or an animal, that our nervous system will slow down. So, this is something that we'll talk about today as a resource, as something that brings us back into connection with ourselves and with our thriving nature, um, is each other, places, people that bring us into a sense of connection, and also prioritizing those things and people in our lives. That this is like the nurturance that we bring into our system that helps us be in a more regulated or thriving nervous system state. So that's a big part of what I want to offer as we talk about this is empowerment, like how we are empowered when we recognize where we do have some agency. And maybe we do need reminders. Maybe we need a check-in call with someone, or a text check-in, or a weekly or daily, or we need to get out in the morning and go for a walk when the sun comes up, or we need to have a mindfulness bell. That's a great tool for those of you that have done or are doing the Gupta program, is having an app on your phone that you can set to go off every 20 minutes, every half an hour, every hour, just as a, okay, how am I right now? Like, what is my vibrational frequency right now? And that we just bring awareness to that and say, oh, what would give me more sense of ease right now? And we'll talk more about that today, like identifying those things and what we know from some of the research, things that do bring our nervous systems more into a regulated state. But I think you all have a good idea of some of those things for yourself. So let's um, let's maybe talk about that to start with. So, um, if you can write in the chat, what if you don't go up to your head, but we just check in, like, what is stress? What is this thing that many of us have named is like, uh, we have lots of? What is that? Or it might help you to think about, well, what's the opposite of that? Like, how do I get a sense of what is stress? Tricky, right? It's like the water that we're swimming in. It's a little bit like, oh, what is this thing? What is this thing? And you don't, even if you don't come up with words, just let yourself feel maybe what it feels like in your body. Like, what is the feeling of stress that you know is different than a feeling of ease or a feeling of maybe that gives you some words like what is stress? What does stress feel like? Weight, distraction from like being present, tension, yes, all the things I can't help or get done. Beautiful, all of you to, and let's just notice, can you still feel the chair? And can you still sense your breath and rest a little bit in your breath as we come a little bit closer to the tightness or the restriction? We're not going to become it, but we're going to notice, oh, here is where I feel it in my body. A lack of spaciousness, like there's always something in my awareness that's not done. Yeah, right. That comes back to the what keeps me from feeling present. Yeah, something that's not done. Yeah. I'm gonna just notice because this is part of digesting stress is notice, do you have access to resting in your breath or feeling the chair or the earth at the same time that you just touch the edge of the tension or the sensation? Don't get pulled into it. Just touch the edge of it and then feel, okay, where's the chair? Where's my breath? Where are my feet? And just notice it may feel tricky. It may feel like, no, I just go right into the stress if I'm there. Anybody feeling like it's not so easy to rest and feel the stress at the same time to like be in contact with it? No, that feel like you're able to rest and then touch the edge of the sensations of the stress. Great. Okay. Let's let's kind of hold this as our home base, like where we want to be, because we're going to talk about stress and that can really pull us into the the tensions of that experience. So just keep noticing and I'll remind you the chair and the your breath. And I'm going to bring up an image that probably many of you that have been in online something with me have seen, which is the stress challenges balance scale. Is that showing up on the screen? So when what's in our stressor side of the balance scale, which I've heard from quite a few of you, is significance, is heavier, has more in it than our resources, what give us a sense of connection uh, to ourselves or gives a sense of ease. You can ignore my writing underneath it right now. We'll get to that. But let's just think about how big that list is or how aware I am of stressors. And then now let's shift over to what are the and we can even do this with like how much real estate in my awareness or how much time am I offering my nervous system resources as opposed to engaging with stressors or that there are stressors. So just for a minute or so, let's shift ourselves over into that resources side of the balance scale and let come into your awareness. What in your daily routines, where are the resources? What are the moments? What are the activities? What are the anchors in your schedule that are nourishing, that bring ease or bring a sense of connection or safety or joy? That's it. And just let yourself feel the state. Like, oh, this is how offering myself nurturance or joy, connection feels. And just see if there are any qualities without leaving this. Just see if you notice qualities. Is tension a quality here? There may still be a residual tension from underlying stress. But just see when we tune into the activities, the sounds, music may be a resource, bird song. What happens? And if you want, if it doesn't pull you out of it and you want to write something about the experience, like a word or two about how does resource feel? How does your body respond to orienting to what has brought you a spark or a sense of connection or that you feel grateful for? There's any felt sense that comes as you kind of steep yourself in this resource field. Give just a moment if anyone wants to write anything in the chat, and then we'll move on if not. But feel it. Can you feel? Can everyone feel? And I'll just look at your heads. Can you feel this feels different in some way than orienting to stress? What stress feels like? You can say no if you're like, nope, I can't feel a difference here, or just give me a head nod so I know what you're experiencing. I'm not seeing any response. Okay, I'm a little smile, a soft smile. Uh-huh. And then small muscles relaxing. Yes. Yes. And then an awareness, yeah, of larger muscles and heartbeat. Yeah. So some ease, some relaxation, some response. So yeah, thanks for just feeling this. This is so important, right? That we notice what it feels like to feel stressed and to notice what do I need if I if we're talking about our agency and where is this balance scale. It is so easy when we're in a stress response. I got so much to get done and I'm really stressed about it, or either I'm getting a lot done and that's so rewarding and I want to keep going and I don't want to go out and like uh, walk in the woods, or I don't want to stop and put on a piece of music and dance a little bit. Um, but to feel how it feels in our body so we can navigate through this is like, oh, I am very, I'm feeling a lot of tension right now. I'm feeling very worried right now. And we'll talk more about more direct responses to alleviating stress. But right now, I want us to actually really feel in the body how bringing resources, even we're still all sitting here in front of our computers, but bringing in our lived experience of things that give us a sense of ease, how that in and of itself can really impact our bodies and what's happening in our nervous system. Expansiveness, with turning to resources or bringing those online, as it were. Um, yes. And then there is this fear of, I've got to keep going, or this, yeah, if I don't get this all taken care of, I won't be okay. And yet at the same time that we just notice this, maybe with a little bit of a smile, is that we've just given ourselves an experience of feeling more okay by shifting and opening our awareness to what we're resting in. So this is a way to use resources is that we rest in resource as we turn toward taking action, right? Is, oh, can I do this from a place of support or connection? And that might even look like, who could help me with this? Or um, could I do this in an atmosphere that just gives me more of that felt sense? Could the atmosphere be giving me some resource? Could I put on some music that maybe I don't want to dance to, but that would feel relaxing and calming and or have some aroma or have some images near my desk where I'm pausing and smiling, remembering being on that beach or remembering being with people that I care about. So in a little bit, we're kind of interrupting this stress trance a little bit. There is that we notice our capacity to bring resource in even when we are tending to the things to do. And and the part of our brain that is scared and worried and getting us like motivated in that way will not remind us. So this is where we have connections or groups. I hope those of you that have been in groups found that experience that to meet with some frequency, you're like, oh, right, this is what we're doing and we're doing it together. And um, okay, so let's keep moving because there's more, of course, that I want to share than we'll have time for. But I want to highlight because we're going to come to this in just a minute when we look at the impact of stress on our body and chronic stress. The ability to exit stressful situations is a resource. So when we're young, many of us, part of our kind of factory settings or default settings in our nervous system is we start to feel some tension or some distress because something may be overwhelming for us or not great for us. And yet we don't at that young age have a sense that we can change what's happening. And that can actually become a reflexive response to stress for us. This is not happening consciously, but that we just feel the stress and then there's not a like, okay, um, I need, and what that would look like in a nervous system where there was attuned connection and collaboration would be like an older nervous system saying, sweetheart, you look worried. You look stressed. Let's look at this together. Okay, tell me what it is. And maybe it's, a challenge with a friend, or maybe it's something at school, a project that we're worried about. And then like having that wired into our system, like, oh, I could actually open, there's someone that can be with me to feel this and then help me. So I want us to bring the compassion to that if we didn't have a lot of those repetitive formative experiences of stress and then responsiveness and then connection as a resource in stress, that that will not be a reflexive response in our system. So that we can start by noticing, oh, I feel stressed and I feel like I have to do this on my own or whatever it is, that we bring conscious awareness to whatever the pattern is that comes with the stress. Plus, we live in a culture that is very, we're kind of trained into this. I was having this conversation with a friend who works in education the other day about how little we're not trained into collaborative, problem solving, that it's like, this is a project and you need to do this. And so that we pause and feel that compassion for our the way our brain is conditioned, the way our deep brain feels stress and may then feel like, I have to figure this out. I have to take care of this. So bringing that conscious awareness is bringing a little bit of that attuned connection that was missing in that early environment. So it's like we get our foot in the door a little bit of like, oh, yeah, we bring empathy or care to the lack of this sense that we have agency, power, ability to exit as a resource. So connection. And then if we do have the ability to exit, which is, these are all much longer conversations, there may be something that also feels like a threat to that. If I want to walk out of the room when I'm having a difficult conversation, but then I also feel like I care about this person and I want to stay and be with this process, or this is my job and I need to do this. So this is a little bit of a deeper piece, but as adults, we do have more capacity to at least bring consciousness to the pattern and the pattern of like, oh, I have to do this alone if that is part of it. Because connection is one of our greatest human resources. It's a regulator. Attuned connection or collaboration is something that will bring our stress down, right? You can just imagine that if you got a list this long and then imagining the possibility that someone would walk in and say, hey, what can I do to support you? What can I do to like take something off your plate or just be with you that this is feeling stressful? So connection as a resource. And this double binds here is what I was talking about. Here is that sometimes it's like this is very stressful, and yet I don't actually feel like I can leave or I don't want to leave, right? It'd be family of origin dynamics where we're committed to being with our family, and there's also challenges that arise there. And so these places where we can feel a stress response, but also feel like, I can't, it's not that simple. Okay, any thoughts or questions right here? You want to pause before we go on? You can just raise your hand if there's something that you want to bring here. So again, just back to that image is the way that we can work with moving through our days is noticing like how heavy is my stress response right now? How many resources am I giving myself? Because to be in those states of chronic stress, some of them aren't conscious, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Our power is to look at the places where we can say no or can say, do I really need to is this way that I'm completing this taking myself into account? Am I bringing ease to myself as I move through this project? Like if you happen to be a perfectionist, that can be a place where there's some joy in like getting all the details, but then I'm you're maybe spending a lot more time doing something. Um, so just looking, any thoughts or anything here that we want to go further into? Okay. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. Give me just a second. The recording. Yeah, so a beautiful self-awareness about how awareness goes to the future and worrying about what could happen in the future. This is sometimes called catastrophizing, is that we leave this moment because there's something up ahead and there's so many unknowns, and our brain wants to like go out there and figure it out. And yes, it can be such a sink of energy um, and time. And then those situations may actually never happen. And we've left this moment and it creates a lot of stress. So I'm going to jump ahead. Let's navigate this way. This is my favorite way to actually just go. And I'm going to skip ahead to share something with you all. About 6 years ago, and this is part of why I wanted to get to share this, is I got to do this incredible. Can you see something that says mind-body interactions? Okay. So I got to do this wonderful training, was a one-day training with Lisa Goler, and she is a psychoneuroimmunologist. She's a scientist. She studies, this is what she studies, mind-body interactions and the stress inflammation connection. So she basically is studying chronic health conditions. And what we know, and I'm going to, because I copied it right out of my notes from that class, but will I be able to go right to it now? Catastrophizing. Let's see if I look for, no. Catastrophizing um, is one of the biggest drivers of stress. And guess what? Stress is the biggest driver of inflammation in our bodies. This was one of the big things I learned from Lisa was, yes, we can eat an anti-inflammatory diet, we can eat low glycemic foods and um, exercise and all these things are helpful, but the biggest driver of stress are catastrophizing. And I would say underneath that are undigested emotions, right? The worry, the fear, the not feeling safe. Um, oh, it's right here. It's the very first thing in her talk. Unmanaged stress and catastrophizing inhibit the regulation of inflammation in our bodies. So they are huge. And how do we, so that's, it's really a beautiful, I'm glad you brought this. Um, what supports us in noticing that, oh, this is what's happening? I've just left my sensations in the moments. This is where the body is such a huge resource. I'm not feeling, I'm all up here in a worry about something that might happen in the future. I'm gonna pause the recording for a second and just see what are the, let me put this on the recording. What are the ways either that you catch yourself? How do you notice that you're doing it? Or if you have a way that you interrupt or work with that. I'm gonna pause the recording and then let's just hear. So talking about how the looping can just take us and that sometimes in conversation with someone that knows us and cares about us, there can be an interrupt in the relationship where the person is like, hey, hang on, wait a minute. That feels supportive. Is that right? Like that like having it be out in the open and someone else's conscious awareness who's not in that habit or knows our habit can help us interrupt. And if things are ideal, maybe bring some resource. Maybe even, and I'm not saying that this is what would happen in that relationship, but ideally say, hey, it seems like you're really worried about this. This this is, yeah, I get this, that this feels scary or that there's something so that there's a resourcing that's happening, not a judging. You know, sometimes it's like, would you just calm down? That's not a resource, right? The resource is being seen, and this is what we're offering to ourselves when we can, being seen and received and responded to for what's going on even underneath the words that are coming out is like, oh, yeah, I get that this is really worrying you, or I get that this is scary. So that relationship, the importance of having relationships where there's this understanding and where we've shared this is something that where I'm wanting to feel more freedom and where I do get worried, and then you'll see me or you'll hear like that I'm looping or that I'm um yeah, getting stressed. I'm gonna pause. So another piece that's coming up that's so helpful is that when this energy, right, because it is an upward energy of worry or anxiety or stress that from stress comes up, that to be able to take action, some kind of achievable action can give us a little calming in our nervous system, but that those actions may not be addressing the deeper source of the worry or the stress of like, I'm just going to make an example so that we have a practice to take from this. And we'll maybe do a part two next month because there's so much more that we can explore here about stress. So in that moment where we start to feel the stress response and the upward energy and that like I have to do something, I'm going to start straightening or do something that I can achieve. How would it feel? And let's just try it out in real time to put your hand wherever you feel that upward energy that is motivating, is like driving the like, I have to do something, I have to do something, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And from where our hand is making contact, that we are in relationship with this part. And we can say whatever we want to say. Our body and our deep brain language are experience and emotion. So we could feel compassion, like, oh, wow. Or say, feel, I get that you're really scared or that you're feeling anxious right now. But through the hand, right? Through the felt, through the contact, right? That's the message. And then we might put our other hand somewhere in our body that we have some sense of space or resource, whether that's your leg or your belly or your heart or somewhere, so that you're anchoring in your present awareness and care that notice like some part of me is really stressed, really worried right now. And this would be exactly the thing if you catch yourself catastrophizing, is to put your hand wherever you can feel the energy, often worry or fear. And make sure we're coming back to the balance scale. Make sure that your most of your awareness is with where you feel ease. Because that's what we're communicating through a felt sense to the part that's feeling stressed. I'm right here. And I'm feeling your worry, your fear. We're not trying to smash it or squeeze it. And just notice maybe you need to call in feeling the land that you're on, or an aquifer under the ground somewhere deep, or that being or place that gives you a sense of support and connection. That's it. And see if you can notice like the scale starts to tip a little bit so that your present awareness has actually a place to rest, because of course we don't find a rest inside of the energy of the worry, but we find that place where we can breathe a little bit more. And then from there, we just make a very soft contact with the worry so it can feel that we're here with it and that we don't need it to change. If that's true, and if it's not, just call up that part of yourself, that compassionate part that can bring empathy and care to this experience of overwhelm. And notice as you do this, if it's okay to let the feeling move a little bit. And it may have a different kind of movement than that spinning, spinning, spinning. The shape of it, the size of it may shift, or there may be some movement in different dimensions. Yeah. And we can even let that spinning, worried, catastrophizing, or part that needs some kind of movement or feels like it does because it needs to move, feel that it can rest into us as an ally. Yeah, is there a way I can be a support to you? But not with that language, right? Just letting it feel like you can rest into me. Let's figure this out together. I'm here now. We're bringing what might not have gotten wired into our stress response when we were really little. You actually feel your capacity and your agency. Yeah, and the care. And there may be some emotion and it starts to move in this part. There may be sadness or shaking or. And so we're also building our capacity, our tolerance to be with. This might be new in our family lineage that we kind of appreciate, like, yeah, I'm just growing this capacity to be with the discomfort that this part of me is feeling. And that it's a process. And it's about relationship, right? Relationship is a resource, it's kind of caring, connected, anchored in some support kind of connection. Yeah, so finding your way back, and you can, after we sign off in a minute, you can come back and be more with, if you got in touch with this part of you that could actually really use some connection, support, resource, that you can come back and be with it more later. And I think we will do a part 2 next month on this, because I want to share more of the map with you all about what happens with chronic stress and other ways that we can bring resource. But this will be our beginning foray into this territory.